Deep in the heart of Oregon lies Whispering Pines, a sprawling forest steeped in mystery. Its towering trees and rolling mists have long been a source of fascination and dread. Locals whisper tales of eerie occurrences, unexplained disappearances, ghostly voices, and the lingering scent of smoke from a fire that extinguished itself decades ago. They tell of the tragic fate of the Morrow family, who lived in a cabin deep within the woods until they vanished in the 1940s, leaving behind only the burned remains of their home. The forest is avoided by most, yet for Emily Carter, an adventurous wildlife photographer, Whispering Pines was the perfect destination. Her curiosity was insatiable, and her determination to capture the perfect shot would lead her into a nightmare she would never forget. Emily had heard the warnings from locals. Stay out of Whispering Pines. The forest doesn't like visitors. But she dismissed them as the kind of folklore found in every small town. Early one October morning, armed with her camera gear, a flashlight, and a packed lunch, she set out for the forest. At first, Whispering Pines was everything Emily had hoped for. The sunlight streamed through the dense canopy, casting golden patterns on the forest floor. The moss glowed vibrant green, and the air was crisp with the scent of pine. She snapped photo after photo, each frame more enchanting than the last. As the day wore on, the forest changed. The usual rustling of wildlife faded, replaced by an oppressive silence. No birds sang, and the wind seemed to vanish altogether. Emily paused, adjusting her camera lens, when she heard it, a faint, whispering sound carried on the still air. It was so soft at first that she thought it was her imagination. "Turn back!" She froze, her heart skipping a beat. The whisper was clearer now, unmistakable. Turning slowly, she scanned the trees, expecting to find someone, but there was no one there. Brushing off the unease creeping up her spine, Emily continued deeper into the woods. The whispers persisted, faint at first, but growing louder with every step. They overlapped, voices indistinct yet insistent. Words began to form. "You shouldn't be here. They're watching. They're waiting." The forest seemed to close in around her. The towering trees, once majestic, now felt menacing. The shadows stretched longer, and the path behind her seemed to fade into the undergrowth. Then she saw it, the ruins of the cabin. The remnants of the Morrow cabin stood as a grim monument to the forest's dark history. The charred skeleton of the structure was barely upright, its walls blackened by fire, and its roof caved in. Yet there was something unnervingly intact. A rocking chair on the porch. It swayed gently as though caught in a breeze, though the air was still. Emily approached cautiously, her camera in hand. As she adjusted her lens, the rocking chair's reflection in the viewfinder made her freeze. A shadowy figure sat in the chair, a woman, her form faint but unmistakable. Emily lowered the camera, but the chair was empty. Her breath quickened, and a chill ran down her spine. She decided she'd seen enough and turned to leave. But the path she'd taken to the cabin was gone. The forest had shifted, swallowing her way back. Panic set in as the whispers grew louder, now an unintelligible cacophony that seemed to surround her. Desperate, Emily stumbled back toward the cabin, the only point of reference in the disorienting forest. The air grew colder, and a dense mist curled around her ankles. It was as though the forest itself were alive, watching her, closing in. Inside the cabin, The whispers reached a deafening crescendo. Emily's flashlight illuminated fragments of furniture scorched and decayed. Along one wall, claw marks raked deep into the wood, as if someone had tried desperately to escape. Her light flickered, and for a moment the room plunged into darkness. Emily felt it then, a cold, heavy presence behind her. When the light returned, she turned to see a figure standing in the corner. It was a woman, her form burned and tattered, her face obscured by shadows. The figure raised an arm, pointing toward Emily, and whispered in a guttural voice, "Leave while you can." Emily bolted, her flashlight clattering to the floor as she stumbled over debris. She burst out of the cabin, but the forest was unrecognizable. The trees loomed closer, their branches twisting unnaturally, and the path ahead was shrouded in an impenetrable mist. The whispers had transformed into a chant, maddening and inescapable. Emily tripped and fell into a clearing. At its center stood a massive, gnarled tree, its roots twisted and pulsating like veins. At the base of the tree were relics of the past, a child's doll, a rusted lantern, and a charred picture frame. She felt drawn to the tree, her legs moving as if compelled by an unseen force. As her hand reached out to touch the bark, the whispers stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the roots of the tree began to move, and shadowy figures emerged from the ground. They were humanoid, but hollow, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Their faces were twisted in anguish, and their forms seemed to flicker like dying embers. The woman from the cabin appeared again, her voice echoing in Emily's mind. "They took us. They keep us here. Now they'll keep you." The shadows surged toward her, their skeletal hands clawing at her. Emily screamed, clawing at the ground, but their grip was unrelenting. Just as she was about to be dragged into the tree's roots, a blinding light pierced the mist. The shadows recoiled, hissing, and Emily felt herself being pulled backward. Emily woke up on the forest's edge, her camera smashed and her clothes torn. A group of hikers found her and carried her to safety. When asked what had happened, she could only mutter about shadows and whispers. Later, as she reviewed the surviving photos, one image sent a chill through her. The picture of the rocking chair now clearly showed the shadowy woman sitting in it, staring directly at the lens with empty eyes. Emily never returned to Whispering Pines. Though she escaped, the forest left its mark. She dreams of the shadows and the whispers calling her back, promising that her escape was only temporary. Locals say the forest remembers those who enter, and one way or another, it always claims what is its own. Would you dare step into Whispering Pines? What secrets do you think the forest hides? Share your thoughts below. And if you enjoy tales that blur the line between reality and the supernatural, subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories. Until next time, stay curious, but tread carefully.